Welcome to Basketball Network 101. My name is Will, and today we'll be speaking with Tyrone Ellis. Tyrone is currently serving as the head coach on the NBA G-League team Stockton Kings. But on top of that, Tyrone had a very extensive and very successful international career, playing overseas, predominantly in Europe, but he also had a quite interesting appearance for the Georgian national team. Tyrone, it's a pleasure having you on the show today.
Man, thank you for having me, man. I'm super excited and ready to get this thing going.
Excellent. You know, what we usually do when we start off the show, we kind of, I want to, the audience gets a better feeling on your background, where the initial interest, for basketball came in your life. And if you could talk more about that, because I know you grew up in Dallas.
Yeah, growing up in Dallas, man, I went to a high school called Dallas Carter, which is a very prominent sports school. So I grew up playing with my neighborhood friends, my cousins, and I just loved basketball. My favorite player was Michael Jordan, and ironically Larry Bird. I just loved those two guys, and I just grew to love it. And I got a little bit taller, and I started playing ball, but my passion for the game was greater than my skill early on. And so I just kept on working, man, and kind of things worked out for me.
You actually had a quite great college career. You were an All-American. So how was your transition from high school to college? How did it look like, basically?
Well, I went to an NAIA school, so it's a really small school, and so my transition from high school to college wasn't difficult at all. I just redshirted I really had a plan. I had no idea that I was going to play pro ball because I went to an NAIA school, and so my goal was to go there my first year and redshirt, and then finish my 4 years so I can get my master's degree paid for. That was my only goal. And I got a little bit bigger, a little stronger, started jumping a little bit higher, and I wound up having a really good college career. So it's funny. Have you ever heard of the PIT? Okay, so the PIT it's the Portsmouth Invitational Tournament. And what that is every NBA, the NBA puts on a tournament for the top seniors from all over the country for college. And so guys who didn't get that much burn or didn't get that much shine in college, they come to this tournament and all the NBA scouts are there. And so my senior year, I called the NBA and I asked them, could I come to the PIT? First team All-American, player of the year, average all these points, all these different things in college. And they politely told me no, that my college level was too low. So what I did was I raised money by cutting grass, by cleaning garages, by babysitting to raise enough money to go out to the PIT, which is in Virginia. I went out there and with a backpack full of tapes and bios and one suit. And I was there all week long handing out my tapes and bios to every NBA scout that was there. And the way it was set up, it was set up like as such. So this is the court. You have fans. And this side right here was all NBA scouts. And I sat right there. So they had to pass me to go to the restroom or leave the building. And I just overcame my fears and I just introduced myself. Hi, I'm Ty Ellis. I wasn't invited, but I can play at this level. I probably said that 80 times throughout that week. By the end of the camp, I'm so frustrated, and I walk to the local YMCA, and Mitch Kupchak is there. For those of you who don't know Mitch Kupchak, back then he was the president and GM of the Los Angeles Lakers. Currently, he holds that same role with the Charlotte Hornets. So he's there. Mitch is like 6'10". He's on the elliptical, which makes him like 7'2". And he's like super tall, and he has this stoic face about him. And man, I just built up enough courage and I went over there and I gave him my 20-second spiel. He brought me into the gym. He worked me out. And 2 weeks later, he invited me to play for the Lakers Summer League team. And that's how my pro career started. And I was ready for that moment. And that moment led to 11 years playing professional basketball. And so, although I did have a really good college career, it didn't translate to opportunities until I went out there and I made my own opportunity.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You actually said it really well. And when you mentioned that you were, kind of approaching those NBA executive GMs, you had to be creative. Sometimes you have to be creative. And you mentioned that you had a summer. You played with the Lakers for the summer. You then played overseas, where you had a quite astonishing career. So, what was the transition? How did that transition look like for you? Coming from the States, going to Europe. Can you talk more about that?
I had no idea how good European basketball was. Coming from the U.S., you're kind of naive and almost stupid, ignorant to the fact that there are some really, really good basketball players in Europe. So my first job in Europe was in the ACB. Had no idea that was the second best league in the world.
And you played there for a few years, actually.
I'm sorry?
And you played there for a few years.
Yeah. I was fortunate enough to play, I believe, 6 seasons in the ACB, 1 in Italy and 1 in Turkey and 2 in Germany. And so, and all at the high levels with Euroleague experience. But I'll tell you a quick story. The first game we played against Barcelona. And I didn't know who Navarro was. I didn't know who Bodiroga, Kupchak, just idiots. The list goes on and on, right? I had no idea about these guys. I'm like, I don't care about Navarro. Navarro has to guard me. But that's how ignorant I was to the fact that these guys are making a ton of money, millions of dollars. They are really, really good, and they're so fundamentally sound. And so I was just quick and athletic, and I can shoot, but these guys thought the game. And so the day before the game, the media is there talking to us. I'm like, I don't know these guys. Like, I don't care about Barcelona. And that was the front page quote. And right then and there, I realized that I'm dealing with the NBA team. This team won the ACB championship, and they also won the Super Cup, and they also won the EuroLeague Final Four. So this team could have been in the NBA competing for a playoff spot. That's how good they were. And so right then and there, I kind of knew that I was very fortunate, and my mindset changed to embrace the culture, learn the language, really commit to this experience, and it was great for me.
And you mentioned you played in different countries around Europe. What was it like in terms of, just from a player perspective? What was the main difference that you've seen, for example, if you played in the Spanish league or in Turkey or in Germany, or is it pretty much the same?
No, it's totally different. The ACB is by far the best league in Europe, by far the second best league in the world. I mean, in that particular season, you had the Barcelona team, you had the Tau team with Andres Nocioni and
Luis Scola played for them as well.
I'm sorry?
Luis Scola also played for them.
Yes,
and then he later,
yes, exactly. Luis Scola. You had, that particular Tau team was unbelievable. They had Elmer Bennett. They had Nocioni. They had, Jose Calderon. And it was
very
a
talented
bunch of, and then Juventud had Ricky Rubio Fernandez. Real Madrid had a great team. And so Spain by far was the best talent-wise, and the living was awesome. I mean, I really enjoyed it. My wife and I, we loved it. I think Italy was really good, but Italy and Turkey for sure, they're top teams, maybe top 4 to 5 teams are really good and they pay on time, but the bottom teams, they have all these issues every single year.
Okay.
And that's why I only played 1 year in Italy. I only played 1 year in Turkey because, you know, when you sign a contract, you expect to get what you signed for if you fulfill your duties as a player. And I played for Beşiktaş in Turkey, and which was we actually won the league, and I still didn't get my money.
Really?
And so I said, I'm done. You know, I don't want to be a part of a league that allows teams to cheat their players. You know, and the same thing with Italy. You know, and so I got all of my money in Italy only because my agent made them give me post-dated checks. But I had teammates who didn't get their money. And I refused to be, I didn't want to be a part of a league where the commissioner allows teams to not pay the salaries.
Yeah.
And, but Germany was great. I won a championship in Germany. I played for Frankfurt. We won the championship. We went to the Euroleague. I averaged 20-some points in Euroleague, and that kind of propelled my career. Had a great coach with Gordon Herbert, phenomenal coach. I learned so much from him as a player that now as a coach, I've taken some of his characteristics and adopted them. So Germany was awesome, no complaints there. The only thing, the salaries couldn't compare to Spain. Otherwise, I would have stayed in Germany my entire career.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically the experience of any career. You have some places where you don't like it, and there are some disadvantages, and there are some places where it's more it's a more pleasurable situation to be in. But coming from the United States, what was the main difference in terms of basketball that you saw playing initially in the States and then coming to Europe? What was the main difference?
Purpose. Yeah, purpose, man. Like in the US, from a young age, we're taught or we're praised for being athletic. And in Europe, they're praised for being smart and being purposeful and understanding angles and cuts and the setup. And I think that's where we as Americans, we fall off or we fail to teach the game as opposed to always praising the athleticism. And as a coach, the worst thing I can say about a player is, oh, he's athletic. Okay, well, what else can he do? Like, everybody is athletic at this level, but if I'm describing a player and the only thing I'm emphasizing is athleticism, that means he can't play basketball, right? And so that was the biggest thing, man. Like, for example, Bodiroga, big old slow guy, one of the best players I've ever played against because he was so methodical and purpose with all of his pump fakes and angles and actions. Navarro, one of the best two guards I've ever played against because he was Steph Curry before Steph Curry.
Exactly.
A lot of people don't know that, but Navarro has been doing what Steph is doing now, right? And so, those types of I couldn't believe Ricky Rubio was 15 playing in the first division of the ACB. He was 15, but his knowledge of the game was so vast. And so that was the biggest thing that I adopted while I was over there, and it's working out for me as a coach.
And during those years playing in Europe, and you mentioned several names like Bodiroga, Navarro, which was your toughest matchup? Is there any player that you can point out that whenever you played against them that you had to up your game up?
Navarro for sure, because I played the 1-2 position. Navarro was very good, very hard to defend. J.C. Carroll was really good, very hard to defend.
Also
Jerome
a great
Allen
shooter.
Also great shooter. Jerome Allen in Italy. He coaches with the Boston Celtics. Guard wise, there's I forget his name. He's the coach now. I think it's Pesic. But he's like 6'4", 6'5". He played for many teams in Italy.
Yeah.
I forget his name, man. I want to say his last name is Pesic.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
But he was really, really good, man. And I played against him in the latter parts of his career. Maybe he played I played against him maybe for 2 years, then he retired.
Mm-hmm.
But at almost 40, and I was 20-something, he was killing me, man. I couldn't do – he was just so smart. A lot of the Serbian guys, the Serbian guards were really good. They were very smart, very tough. A lot of the Argentinian players, they play very hard all the time. They're very tough. And so, but yeah, it was a really good competition.
And you mentioned Dejan Bodiroga, who is actually, he's, probably the best player to never played in the NBA, or at least top 3.
Yep.
Because he had that kind of size and skill set. But you mentioned he wasn't that fast, but he was deceptively fast,
Yep.
Can you talk more about him and how it was playing against him? Because he's sort of considered a European legend.
Yeah, I think that particular name for him is perfect. I think he is a legend. They told me about the Bodiroga move before the game, and I'm like, man, that stuff's not gonna work against me. I'm gonna take it from him, and I'm talking all this stuff about him, and guess what happens? He actually hit me with the move, and I fell for it. And he, on paper, he doesn't have great 3-point percentages, doesn't have great numbers, but he's a winner.
Yeah.
And he gets things done. If you need a 3, he's going to pump fake, knock it down. I mean, he's just phenomenal.
Very skilled.
Very, very skilled, and has a real good size, real big butt. He kind of keeps you on his butt, and you can't block his shot. And so he is definitely worthy of the title, European legend.
Yeah. One of the things that always, when we speak with players who played international, or for example in Europe and United States, one of the things that always comes up is the difference in how fans interact during games.
Yeah.
So it's sort of a, European fans are maybe a bit more wilder during games in terms of, the whole atmosphere and everything. Have you seen it? Have you seen the difference or?
Yeah. The fans are in different countries. It's different,
Mm-hmm.
right? You have the Spanish fans who are very similar to the U.S. fans.
Mm-hmm.
They're passionate during the games, but they're very respectful in the community. If we see them on the street, they don't cross the line during the game. They don't
Mm-hmm.
throw things at you, or, But other countries I've been in, Turkey, Greece, Serbia. Those
Wild.
fans, they are radical fans.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they absolutely would die over the flag or the brand of that particular team. They have generations and generations and generations of fans. They say racist things, and they'll throw pennies at you, or all these different things. It didn't bother me because I'm a Black American. And so I've experienced racism and harsh words like that growing up in the U.S. as an African American. So it didn't bother me. In fact, it actually
it's a different experience.
Yeah. It made me feel like it empowered me that I have the power to have a good game and to make them upset. And so I wasn't afraid because I had experienced way worse.
Mm-hmm. You didn't feel the pressure that maybe a lot of the other players would feel during the, if you're playing that type of game.
Yeah.
And something that's also very intriguing is, and I've seen quite a few U.S. players do that, is you played for Georgian national team, where you made quite a significant impact. You played there from 2006 to 2009. How was that experience, for you, and how did this decision came about?
Well, Gordon Herbert was the head coach of the Georgia national team, and he was my coach in Germany, the team that we won a championship with. So prior to me going to Georgia, playing for Georgia, there were a few Americans, Shamon Williams, some more guys, I forget their names, Melvin Sanders, some more guys who played before me, but they weren't able to get the Georgian team to the A division. Mm-hmm. And so when Herbert asked me, he told me that I would have to sign a 4-year commitment in order to get the passport. I'm like, cool. I love basketball, so I'll be hooping and playing for a country. Then I get to the country, and we have Zaza Pachulia. We have Victor Sendakizi. We have I forget Manu's last name, but we have a really good team, you know. And so we played, and we got to the A division, which was the first time in the history of the country, and they're currently still in the A division. And so I was very proud, man, like very proud to represent the country of Georgia. They welcomed me and my wife. I'm walking down the street, man, people are stopping to take pictures, to sign autographs. And so that country really showed me so much love. And to this day, Zaza and I are pretty close. I still talk to the Georgian fans, and they show me love now. So it was an awesome experience.
Mm-hmm. And you actually had pretty good numbers when you played for the national team. When you actually took them to A division. So it's definitely a different experience.
Yeah. And you know, there was one situation where the country was in war with Russia.
Wow.
And one time they were invading Tbilisi, the capital, and that's where we were all staying at and training. So we get a call at midnight saying, we have to go right now. Pack up your stuff. We're leaving in 10 minutes. Russia is invading Tbilisi. And so all of our things, we go to this huge compound where that's where all the other sport figures and dignitarians and all the powerful people in Tbilisi. And we're there for about 3 or 4 days. They have guards and stuff protecting the compound. And then we eventually drive through, I believe, Albania and fly out and then have our games. But at the end of that particular season, so we have our game against Sweden to go to the A division. And I make a move and I steal it and I dunk it. And then I salute to the president of the country. You got all these different, like it's 12,000 people. The military is there with all these guns, and I dunk it and I salute, and the crowd goes bananas. Wow. They're screaming my name, Ellis, Ellis, Ellis. And just so happened, the New York Times is there doing a story on the president. And so we win this game. I'm the only black guy in the whole country. And we go, and the president of the country invites us to the White House, his version of the White House. Mm-hmm. And so we go there, man. We have a great party. Man, everybody's drinking, and it's just a great time. And then the New York Times does a story on me, and it's a picture of me in the New York Times with the country of the president, with the president of the country, and he's just drunk. So I don't drink, but we're hugging each other, and he's just like got this crazy look on his face. But that's a picture they chose to put in the New York Times, and it says Dallas hero in Europe or something like that was the title. But that's the amount of love Georgia showed me, and they appreciated me. And so I will be forever a Georgian citizen.
Yeah. So you're in some way a Georgian legend as well.
Yeah, man.
I mean, I'm pretty sure Zaza, not a lot of
Zaza first. You know, Zaza is the ultimate Georgian, and you know, I'm up there with him.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Zaza he has a story of getting drunk with the president, getting drunk.
Well, Zaza was actually there. He just didn't take a picture, but he was actually there too.
Excellent. And kind of transitioning from your playing career to your coaching career. I've seen in an interview, one of your previous interviews, that you have this kind of motto, building a 5-year plan, which is something that I guess kind of got you into coaching essentially, and mapping out the plan of progressing in that direction. Can you talk more about the 5-year plan and what it meant for you after your playing career?
Man, so when I retired in 2012, so I'm a really spiritual person. I believe in God. I trust God. I study His Word, and that's my foundation. So I tore my Achilles right before the playoffs in 2012. So May 2012, I tore my Achilles. I'm 34 years old, and my career is essentially over. So I spend maybe one day crying, trying to figure out why, and that's it. And God just stopped my tears immediately. And He told me, now it's time, right? And so during my time with Him, He told me in 5 years, you're going to be a G-League coach, a G-League head coach, an NBA coach, and you're going to coach with USA Basketball. That was in 2012. By 2017, I did all of those things. And I didn't have a plan. I didn't know. No one offered me a job when God told me that, but when He told me that, I believed Him, right? I dried up my tears and I started to transition my mind from a player to a coach. And I was assistant coach for 3 years. The 4th year, I became a head coach. Going into the 5th year of me being a head coach, USA Basketball calls me. Now I'm working under Jeff Van Gundy with Team USA. And on the 5th year, at the beginning of my G-League season, the head coach of the Phoenix Suns, he gets fired. And then they bring me up to the Phoenix Suns as a front of the bench assistant. And that's in 5 years. And God told me that, and when I tell people that at the beginning, they thought I was crazy or they thought I was arrogant. And no, I'm not. I'm extremely humble and I work extremely hard. Therefore, I know what God tells me will happen, because it's not my job to figure out the logistics of how it's going to happen, who I have to meet. No, it's my job to work hard, be obedient, and treat people with love and respect. And that's exactly what I did, and it worked out perfectly.
Excellent. That's very inspirational, and you mentioned that you kind of achieved all of those things during those 5 years, and something that kind of caught the eye was coaching for Team USA alongside Coach Van Gundy. How did that experience look like for you, and was it what were the main things that you learned from Coach Van Gundy?
Man, you have to be a master communicator. A master communicator. And I'm not talking only verbally. Like, I listen with my eyes, my touch, and obviously my ears. But I have to reach. It's my job to get the best out of the players. It's not the player's job to understand what I'm saying every single time, right? I have to make it simple enough where player A, where player 1 through player 15 can understand the first time, right? I have to walk into a gym and feel the pulse of my team. I have to walk into the gym, and even though that player isn't doing anything bad or he's not saying anything to me verbally, I have to recognize that something is going wrong. Like, I have to know my players, and everybody is different. And that's the definition of being a master communicator, right? I have to get these guys to trust me in a matter of training camp is 10 days. I have to get these guys to trust me, to trust their role that I give them, right? And so all of this stuff, Jeff Van Gundy is a master at. Jeff is well prepared. You know, Jeff knows his opponent in and out. Jeff comes to practice with detailed information and a detailed practice plan, and we are moving, we are executing, right? So Jeff is the ultimate leader. And so I learned so many different things from him. And he says this: everybody needs a truth teller. And I'm your truth teller, right? Your parents, your agent, your friends, they won't tell you the truth. But you have to embrace a truth teller. And if you don't listen to me, your opponent will always tell you the truth. If you can't shoot, he's going to let you shoot. If you can't dribble, he's going to pressure you. So either I'll tell you the truth and we can work on it, or when you get in the game, your opponent would tell you the truth. And so it's just those types of things that he would say just really made sense to me.
Mm-hmm. And that's a very interesting point that you made. And it seems like a lot of, all the great coaches are very methodical and obviously very knowledgeable about the game and the opponents. So how did your experience playing overseas help in your coaching, in that sense, that what were the main things that you kind of felt that you brought to the game or to the players?
You know, the value that I bring, I think I'm a really good leader, because my European experience allowed me to, for one, learn, relearn, and apply. Every European coach is different. You got some from Spain, some from Serbia, some from the US, some from Germany, and they all have their culture characteristics. And I had to adapt. I had to learn new things, right? And I had to be professional enough to apply what I've learned. And so those things really helped me. And I understood from being in Europe how valuable professionalism is. You have to be professional in this business. Like, there's so many players that I'm replaceable. They can find another Ty Ellis with no problem. And maybe some that have better skills or better qualities than me. But what they won't find better is a better professional or somebody who worked harder than me. And those things that I had control over. I don't have control over me being 6'4", and they want a 6'6" guy. Or they want somebody who's 225. Well, I'm 190. You know, that's my playing weight. So certain things I didn't have control over was I couldn't affect. But the things that I had control over, my professionalism, me being in shape, me working hard in practice, me not complaining, me embracing the culture. Those were things that I had control over, and those are the things that I talk to my players about now. Focus on what you got control over. And things you don't have control over, don't worry about it, because that's rented space that you can be thinking about something else.
So how would you describe your coaching style?
Honest, loving. I'm a teacher. I think that separates me from a lot of American coaches. Is I've had some really good European coaches that taught the game, that taught the small details. The small details matter. Like, so I'm a teacher, and because I'm a leader, I listen. And by me listening more than I talk, each player will tell me how to lead them effectively. And so I listen first, and then once I know how to lead this player, now I can help them reach their ceiling. And I don't focus on the W's in winning, right? I'm more of a growth mindset coach, meaning that the wins will happen organically. I can't force the wins. But if I win in their mind, their body will follow. And that's what I mean when I say the wins will come organically. I care about their mind and more than I care about their skill. Because with or without me, they'll be really good basketball players. But when I get this mind going, now they become great basketball players. And that's where my focus is.
Well, that's also very insightful, because a lot of great coaches, they usually actually deal with the chemistry within the team and them actually knowing their players, rather than just basketball related stuff. Of course, there's basketball related stuff, but you want to have a good group of people who actually are a good mix and can work together on, to achieve a certain goal.
Yeah. It's more important for me to know my player's birthday or his wife's birthday or his kid's birthday than me to teach them an X and O play, right?
Mm-hmm.
Basketball is a small part of coaching. It's a small part, man. And coaches who get that, they, for example, when I was with USA basketball, we ate dinner with Popovich and some more people.
Mm-hmm.
And Coach Pop was talking about all the things that make him a great basketball coach. Nothing to do with X's and O's. Nothing. Because you learn that from trial and error. You learn that as you go. He said, I care about my players. I really love my players. I know everything about them, right? We crack jokes. We have fun. I know their wives' names and birthdays, their kids' names, and I send them gifts, and that separates a coach from a great coach. Mm-hmm. And so when he was telling me that, I was just so happy because that's what I believe in. And as a player, I'm not going to take a charge for a coach that's a butthole, a coach that treats me less than a man, a coach that always cusses me out and only cares about my skill. I'm not going to take a charge for him, but I will sacrifice my body for somebody who care about me.
Mm-hmm. And since you mentioned Coach Popovich, who is, one of the best coaches in NBA history, I think he even has a rule that, during team dinners, they're not allowed to, talk about basketball because, you need to have, a larger view on things surrounding basketball, which is one part of actually developing a player into a person in some way.
Yeah. Very well said.
Yeah, and in terms of player development, because this is something that you did throughout your career as a coach, are there any secret ingredients of developing a good player?
Yes, the last 2 years in Stockton, my team was number 1 in call-ups. Mm-hmm. And we also was 5th in overall wins. So typically when your team gets called up, you lose because they take your best players, mm-hmm. right? But so the secret ingredient is you teach. You love them first and teach them second, right? Coach them third. And so how do you teach? This is how I teach. I teach the why first, the how second, and the what third. Most coaches will tell you what to do, and that's it. But these players are not animals. You tell dogs sit, and then they sit. You can't tell a dog why it's important to sit. But if I tell my big to sprint instead of screen like this is why you set a screen like this. If you set a screen like this will yield a different result than setting a screen like that, right? So this is how you do it. You don't want your feet to be too close because that will mess up your roll. That will slow your roll down. So as soon as you see the guard open up his stance, get out and go. And now your job is done. And so I'm teaching these guys in that particular example, I'm teaching the big how to create separation and how to get behind the defense so we can have a lob dunk or a weak side three. Now I could just say, go sprint and set that screen. And that's it, right? But I've seen coaches, they complain about a person setting a screen, but haven't taught that person how to set a screen or why it's important to set that screen. They only do the what to do. And that's the biggest thing with player development. I develop the mind and the body by teaching and demonstrating. And that's the difference. That's why I've had so much success.
And something that you brought up, it's all about attention to detail. Like you said, you can, just tell a player to set a screen, but you can actually explain, what a good screen actually enables for, the team and the player who's setting the screen.
Exactly.
what are the main kind of characteristics that you focus on when developing, different positions? For example, in basketball, even though we kind of live in an era of positionless basketball, but there's still, different things that different players on the court, on the basketball court do. So what are the main things that you kind of focus on when developing, for example, a guard?
Yeah, I don't believe in the term positionless basketball.
Mm-hmm.
If that's the case, you put the 5 best players out there regardless of their size and strength. No,
Mm-hmm.
you have a big, you have a wing, you have a 2 guard, you have a point guard. Now, can they do multiple things? Can big shoot threes now? Yes, but that doesn't make that big a guard. So that term doesn't make sense to me. So I think every position requires foundational things that they must be great at. For example, a point guard must be able to take care of the ball and lead the team.
Mm-hmm.
Has to be a leader, right? On the court, off the court, he has to be a leader. Now, the 2 guard doesn't necessarily have to be a leader, but he has to be like a scorer, or some type of bring value by putting the ball in the basket or draw 2 and kicking. The 2 and 3 positions are scores. The 3 position needs to be able to be a little bit bigger, right? Play the 3 and 4, but he has to be able to defend that most athletic position. Because if the 2 guard is our main scorer, our 3 guard is like Scottie Pippen. He can score, but he's also a good rebounder. He's also a good defender. He kind of is a jack of all trades type of guy, right? The 4, and nowadays, a successful team needs a 4 that can shoot.
Mm-hmm.
The 4-man is always in that trail position. He's not a big, he's not a guard. He's right in between. He can make some moves off the bounce, or he can post up smaller guys. He can take the bigger 5s, and he can post up the smaller 4s.
Like Kevin Durant, for example.
Exactly. And the 5s, that's your anchor. The 5 has to be a good screen setter. The 5 has to be able to sprint the floor and create separation whenever he's rolling. If the 5-man is big and slow and lethargic, you won't get a lot of drive and kick opportunities. Your team will be centered around one-on-one basketball, right? And so the big DeMarcus Cousins type of bigs, they're slowly fading away because they can't run consistently. They can't get behind the defense to create no-man tags, right? And so this positionless basketball, whoever created that, doesn't make sense.
Mm-hmm. And the topic of having good centers, like old school type of centers, like, for example, Patrick Ewing, Hakeem Olajuwon, David Robinson, Shaquille O'Neal, we don't have those type of players anymore in the league. What do you think, or how do you think the center position evolved in the last 20 years? Because it seems that we don't have any more big men that are dominant in the paint as we used to before.
Right. Well, I think the analytics have a big part to do with that, because a post-up is one of the worst analytical shots you can take, believe it or not, unless you have a Shaq. Like, you have your outliers. You have your guys who, Shaq, Hakeem, the greats. But for the rest of the people, that's not a effective shot, and so and there's too much traffic. You can double team. You can do so much to take away a big's scoring opportunities on the block. So coaches have to be more strategic. Either you're going to have a guy who rolls, kind of like Christian Wood, DeAndre Ayton, those tall, slender guard bigs that can screen and dive hard and create rotational problems. Or you will have a Joel Embiid that he's big enough to go on the block, but he's also skilled enough to go on the elbow or shoot a 3, or he's a good passer, and so there's not many Joel Embiids or Marc Gasols
Nikola
in the
Jokic
league.
is a great player.
Exactly.
And he's actually one of those centers, now that you brought it up, he's one of the centers that is actually a great passer. So whenever they double team him,
Yes.
he just kicks it out and that's a bucket.
He's a 7-foot point guard, and he's so skilled, man. It's crazy.
So when talking about player development, this is one of the hardest things for coaches to do, is get players to buy in. And this is something that you kind of brought up previously, that you take care of who they are as people. But, how do you get them to buy into a system?
Well, you have to be honest with them. And in my experience, I've seen NBA coaches not necessarily afraid to coach, but they are reluctant to tell their superstar the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And every coach every player wants to be respected. That doesn't mean you lie to me. Just don't talk to me as if I'm a child, right? And this is something I'm going to say it, and it is what it is. The American players, the league is predominantly black, and you have a lot of white head coaches. Some have the ability to communicate with black players, but most of them don't, right? Most of them would rather let the black assistant coach deal with the black player.
Interesting.
But I'm sorry?
Interesting. Very interesting, yeah.
But the white head coaches who were really good, like Popovich, the key is humility. As great as Popovich is, he's so humble. He wants to know that everything about you as a person first, right? He stands up for what you believe in as a black man in America. So when things are happening in society, Popovich, Steve Kerr, those guys are first to say something against the injustices that we experience as black men. And when you go out there, that's automatically building credit with the players, right? And so many coaches, they think it's about basketball, and it's not. I don't give a damn about what you know about basketball, because if you think about it, 65% of the game, if not 70% of the game, is just up and down. The other 30% is timeouts, free throws, whatever. So essentially, I'm using my ability that I've had already. Quinn Snyder didn't make Donovan Mitchell an all-star. Donovan Mitchell was freaking great before he got to Utah. Now, what Quinn Snyder did do is he did add to his game and help him understand some tactical, technical things about basketball. But with or without Quinn Snyder, Donovan Mitchell is a phenomenal player, right? And so those are the types of things that has helped me build trust with NBA players, with G-League players, with people in my community or different companies that I talk to, right? I embrace humility, man, and I'm empathetic of things that I don't know about, and I want to learn.
The first thing, a lot of people need to do is, honestly admit that they don't know anything, and that's sort of a first step into progressing as a better human being. And a lot of people forget that.
When in every interview I've had, the question is, what separates you from the other coaches, or why should we hire you, and those type of questions. And I say this every single time to what you just said, Will. I say, I know that I don't know.
Yeah.
And because I don't know, I'm eagerly chasing knowledge.
Yeah. And it's one of the key, reasons for success in a lot of people, when even though they were very knowledgeable, they still were, very humble, and they accepted that actually they can learn more.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
And talking about basketball, specifically NBA and the G League, what do you think the trend will look like in terms of how the basketball itself will evolve in the next couple of years? Because, previously we had more action in the paint. Now we have a league which is very oriented towards shooting and slashing. Do you think, it will stay this way, or the trend will evolve?
I think the game will definitely evolve. These guys, these young men now, are 10 times more skilled than we were back then. And even the guys, the guys before me were back then. These kids now, these young men nowadays are so skilled and so good. I think what we have different than them is the mental resilience that we had back then. And I think that this pandemic and the attention to mental development will continue to grow. And hopefully, I'm extremely hopeful that these young men will become better or stronger mentally. So the game will get better. Who knows, will it ever go back to the Shaquille O'Neal days? But I think the bigs will become more skilled. The point guards will become bigger and more athletic, and you will see more Kevin Durant type of players, Kyrie Irving type of players in the near future.
And they're so, those players can be described as evolution of basketball or NBA, because a lot of, for example, Kevin Durant and Giannis are 7 feet, but they can actually do everything that a guard can do, and very athletic. And they're still learning about the game, which is a good kind of aspect to their personality. What do you think about the NBA as a league in terms of how they reacted to the recent situations in terms of social injustice and everything that has been going around for the past couple of years? Because from my perspective, it seems like the NBA is very progressive in a lot of ways. Obviously there are still a lot of things that, can improve. But can you talk more about that, and how do you feel?
I'm very proud to be a part of the NBA family. I think Mr. Silver, as our leader, did a phenomenal job. Phenomenal job with speaking up for us. He was a voice for our league, and he's just a phenomenal leader. I think LeBron and Chris Paul, and the guys who are the face of the NBA did a phenomenal job as well. And we have to create change. We have to create some type of uncomfortableness with society. Like, no, we see what's going on, and it's not right. I mean, our lives matter. Not saying that other lives don't. One of my friends, he made a comment to me, well, don't all lives matter? And I said, yes, of course. It goes without saying. So if I'm a firefighter and there's a house on fire, and I pass 2 houses that's not on fire, should I stop and check and see on those houses that's not on fire? Or should I race to the house that's on fire? Well, that's, so when we say Black Lives Matter, we are the ones that are being killed by the police. We are the ones who can't ascend in our workplace because of our skin. So our house is on fire. Not saying that your house isn't important, but right now your house isn't on fire. And so I'm just super proud to be a part of the NBA, super proud to that our leaders are doing a phenomenal job, man, and we have to keep it going.
Yeah, and this is something that kind of differentiates the NBA from other leagues. And we're in quite crazy times with COVID and all the games and everything that's happening in terms of restrictions, lockdowns, and everything. So how do you see, as a head coach of a G League team, how difficult was it coaching or interacting with players and having a plan when things are not certain, you know?
Man, being in the G League, I've grown accustomed to adapting.
Mm-hmm.
So it didn't bother me. Playing in Europe, I had to
Mm-hmm.
adapt to a different country, different languages. Simple things like going to get gas or going to the grocery store, I had to adapt and learn. And so I've been doing it my entire adulthood,
Mm-hmm.
adult life. So it wasn't difficult for me. You know, now other people maybe so, but I just go with the flow.
Mm-hmm. And it kind of comes down to what we talked about before. It's, you know, all about handling pressure. You know, some
Yeah.
people can handle it. Some, you know, different people react to different things, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, having that kind of international experience, you know, always brings that kind of additional value to who you are as a person, and definitely
Yeah.
helped you out in your future.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
You know, we usually kind of end the interview with a few quick fire questions.
Okay.
So how do you see, in terms of your head coaching position, you know, what's next with your team? What are your
You
plans?
know, yeah, I'm currently not with the Stockton Kings anymore. They didn't they're not having a team in the G League bubble. And
Mm-hmm.
so I'm actually going to the bubble in a different capacity. My wife and I have a company where we teach growth mindset, where we manage mental
Mm-hmm.
stability, teach effective leadership, all these different things having to do with the mind. My wife and I have a company for that. And so the G League hired me to be in the bubble in that capacity, you know, to coach and help the players, but also be there for them mentally. So that's the space I'm in currently. I think I'll get back into coaching for next season, but that's where my focus is. You know, God has blessed me with the gift to communicate and help
Mm-hmm.
others. And I'm passionate about basketball, but my gift is people. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
really focusing on coaching people and helping them reach their ceiling.
Interesting. So it's kind of a, um, in some way, a transition from you,
Yeah.
that you made. Very, very, very good. And how do you, what is the approach? Like, how do you, and it's interesting, you're working with your wife, so that's a very, I guess, interesting dynamic. So how do you, what is your process in kind of approaching people who need that kind of
Yeah.
help?
And so I've been doing it for the past 5 years, and so
Mm-hmm.
it's not something new.
Mm-hmm.
My wife is an author, and so she writes books for women, and that's her niche: women,
Mm-hmm.
helping women reach their ceiling, reach their potential. And then we do things together like leadership workshops for different companies. And
Mm-hmm.
then on my own, I've spoken with different colleges. I'm speaking this upcoming next Wednesday with this company in Sacramento about effective leadership, telling them my story. And so I've spoken to colleges, I've spoken to medical device companies, I've spoken to individuals. I do personal mental mentoring
Mm-hmm.
with different coaches around the country, young coaches, some old, some young. And so uh, people have heard about my coaching style and have followed my career. And now that we have our company, they're reaching out, asking me to speak to their team, to their executives, to their leadership groups, and it's been pretty good, man.
Mm-hmm.
I've been busy.
Well, that's definitely good news, and it's also very good when you can kind of talk about your experience and share that experience and knowledge that
Mhm.
you've gained, you know, in the last 15, 20, well, your entire
Yeah,
life,
yeah,
to people, and help them along the way to kind of realize maybe their hidden potential.
yeah. Yeah. We all, man, we all have gifts.
It's all about inspiration,
Yeah.
inspiring, other people.
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing is, most people are afraid to fail. And
Yeah.
I'm not. If I fail, it's a learning opportunity. Right? You can't be afraid to fail.
It's one of those things that's a standard part of our life on this planet, I guess. After failure usually comes to success if you learn
Yes.
something from the
Yeah,
that's usually how things work.
Yeah. and Will, there's a thing that I talk about is like I eagerly chase failure. Think about it.
That's an interesting concept.
Yeah, think about it. If you chase, so if I'm chasing this, so I had 10 interviews to be a G-League head coach before I got my head coaching opportunity. But I failed 10 times in the interview. But I learned every single time, right? And so now I chased that failure so much that failure became a success. So if I chase success, now I'm content and complacent. No, I want more. So now I'm chasing my next failure, which is being an NBA head coach. And so I will fail, but I will learn also. And along that journey, I'm getting better and better. I'm meeting more people. I'm building my network, right? And so now when that failure becomes a success, now I'm chasing something else. Right. And so I have a growth mindset where I'm always chasing failure.
That's and a lot of people don't have that kind of mindset, in approaching things. And, a lot of people are afraid, which is, an honest thing. We're all people. And, but it's important to realize that, you can learn something from a failure and apply it to a different thing. And that thing can be prosperous for you.
100%, man. I teach this to my players every single season. There's a guy, his name is Gabe Vincent. Gabe just had 24 last night, I believe, against maybe the Sixers, but he played for the Heat. Last 2 seasons ago, his rookie year, he averaged 8 points for me. Last season, he averaged 24 points for me. And now he got called up, and now he's in the NBA with the Miami Heat. But he averaged 8 points his rookie year, man. And so, but I had these same conversations with him, and now look at him. And so, but he wasn't afraid.
And that's a good, kind of success story that maybe a lot of people don't know about because they're not behind the scenes, and you actually see the progress that certain player has in terms of a few years or maybe even less. Who are the, in terms of young players, who are, some of the most talented players that you coach so far in your career?
In the G League, Derrick Jones Jr., Shaquille Harrison, Gabe Vincent, William Gabriel, Jeremy Lamb, Reggie Jackson, Cam Reynolds, Eric Mika, Kyle Guy, Daquan Jerry. Man, it's a lot. I have a lot of them.
A lot of talent, yeah.
In the NBA, Devin Booker is freaking phenomenal.
And when you were, assistant coach on the Suns, I think that year or that season, he averaged like 25 points per game, and he was like 20 years old.
Yes, this dude is special.
Yeah,
like
very fluid.
There's people. I'm sorry.
He's very fluid. It's really nice to see him play. He kind of reminds me of Kobe Bryant in some regards.
Exactly. That was yes.
Yeah.
Will, I was just about to say that. I mean, you took the words out of my mouth. He will be compared to Kobe when it's all said and done.
Yeah, and he's still very young, which is which is something that a lot of people don't realize because he's been in the league since he was 19 years old.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Going back to the quick fire questions, it's very, very, very short answers.
Okay.
So, who was your favorite team growing up?
Chicago Bulls.
Chicago Bulls. Favorite player?
Michael Jordan.
Michael Jordan. And if I ask you who the GOAT is, I assume the answer
Michael
is Michael
Jordan. For sure.
Who is your, kind of best or favorite player in the NBA right now that you kind LeBron. So, yeah, still
that's
the best.
The only guy. That's the only guy as an NBA coach you can't scout against.
Interesting.
If you double team him, he makes perfect passes. If you put somebody big on him, he go right by him. If you put somebody small on him, he posts him up. Like, he's unbelievable.
When I watch LeBron, play and he's been, incredibly consistent. It doesn't seem like he's 36 years old. One of the most underrated things about his game that always astonished me is his passing ability, which is unbelievable.
Yeah.
On top of everything else. So
yeah.
I can understand your answer. Yeah.
He's special.
Yeah. Who do you think will win the NBA championship this year?
The Lakers.
So you think there's going to be a two-peat repeat?
Yeah.
Who is, in your opinion, the most talented young player in the league right now?
Is Devin Booker considered young?
Well, he's 23, I think. So
yeah. You want younger?
It's okay. Yeah, I mean Devin Booker is still young.
He's still young, so.
Excellent. Ty, it was a pleasure having you on the show. In terms of your next kind of 5-year plan, I hope you make it as the head coach in the NBA.
Thank you.
And you can apply, your knowledge and your passion on the grand stage.
Yep.
And one of the most important things, stay safe, stay healthy during those crazy times. Hopefully next time we'll speak, we'll have a COVID-less situation on our head.
Well, man, thank you for the opportunity, man. I wish you guys continued success, and I look forward to talking to you soon.
Excellent. It was a pleasure speaking with you, and take care.
All right, buddy. Thank you.